Ukrainian K2 Battalion engaged in close combat with Russian soldiers in the trenches. The fighting became brutal. The Russian soldiers had constructed extensive defensive systems, making the battle intense. Surprisingly, the Ukrainian K2 Battalion was filmed killing Russian soldiers in brutal close-quarters trench fighting on the southern front. During this time, Ukraine announced the capture of another village in the south, and Rishi Sunox, a representative, stated that the counter-offensive was progressing well. A one-minute video clip purportedly showed members of the UK's 72nd Marine Special Operations Centre, equivalent to the UK's Special Ship Service, storming a Russian trench system in the southern part of Ukraine. In the clip, a soldier wearing a camera was seen shooting 4 Russian soldiers in quick succession and at close range as they maneuvered around corners in the trenches. At one point, the Ukrainian soldiers shouted for the Russians to surrender, but their demand was ignored. Grenades were thrown over the parapet, followed by an explosion, possibly caused by a Russian grenade. Ukraine's Special Operations Forces, the K2 Battalion, disclosed that their commandos attacked the trench system from behind, resulting in the death of dozens of Russian soldiers. The Russian forces had constructed extensive trench systems, supported by minefields and tank traps, to hinder Ukraine's counteroffensive. These defenses made it difficult for Ukrainian forces to advance, and they were still several miles away from the main line of fortifications they needed to breach for a breakthrough. On Monday, Mr. Sunox praised the bravery of the Ukrainian soldiers on the front line and expressed confidence in their progress. The UK's Prime Minister also commended the Ukrainian soldiers and assured President Zelensky of the UK's support in pushing back the invading Russian forces. It was emphasized that small steps forward would lead to success. During the offensive, Ukrainian troops claimed to have captured the village of Patakati in the Zaporizhia region. Videos released by Ukrainian authorities showed unit flags from the 128th Separate Mountain Assault Brigade and the 2nd Detached Rifle Battalion purportedly from the village. In the past 2 weeks, as part of their offensive in the Berdyansk and Melitopol directions, Ukrainian forces had liberated 8 settlements, covering an area of 44 square miles. Patakati marked the westernmost point of the southern front, where the Ukrainians were conducting their offensive in 4 main sectors. Russia's Ministry of Defense reported repelling a Ukrainian attack on the village of Novodonetsky, located about 70 miles further east near the town of Velika Novosilka. The Institute for the Study of War, a U.S. think tank, suggested that Ukraine may have temporarily halted its offensive to assess its progress. The Ukrainian K2 Battalion forces carried out missile strikes on Russian rear positions along the entire front, including an oil field in occupied Donetsk. It was reported that Ukrainian forces had some control over the southern flank of Bakhmut due to the extensive missile strikes against Russian rear positions, targeting supply logistics, communication points, and an oil field. Analysts observed a significant increase in Russian losses of multiple launch rocket systems, unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, and artillery pieces over the past week. This indicated Ukraine's strategy of drawing out Russian fire positions and subsequently destroying them before advancing towards the Russian lines of fortified defense. Brigadier General Alexander Tarnowski, the commander of the Southern Front, stated that the situation was stable, highlighting the need to reach their full potential. Ukrainian forces were confirmed to maintain positions in the East Left Bank Kherson region near the Antonivka Bridge. However, it was reported that one civilian was killed and at least 5 were injured by Russian shelling on Bilozerka in the Kherson region the previous day, according to local and presidential authorities.